All right. You can tell that this is going to be a demo for developers because I'm jumping straight to a terminal here. So I'm going to be talking about how we build agentic applications and what are the pieces that we need to pull together. So I'm going to be talking about models, tools, and how you bring those together in order to build agents. So I'm a principal engineer at Docker. So I'm going to start by just giving a little bit of a two verb summary of what Docker actually is. And we have Docker pull. So if you can put something into a container and you can pull it, then you can also Docker run it. And those are kind of like, it's super simple, but that's really, over the past 10 years, if you're using Docker, that's really what it's bringing to us. You can maybe say that's actually how we've built the cloud. Anything that you can put into a container, you can pull it and you can run it. Now, when you're building agentic applications, what are some of the other things that you need to be able to pull and you need to be able to run? So we have Docker model, pull, and say I want to pull the AI 5.4 model. I don't have to pull this, it's 8 gigs. I cached this already, but you can just use Docker to pull models as well. And you can also use Docker to run models. So I can say Docker model run. I can choose one of these models, tell me something interesting, and we see some output from our model. So we're bringing the idea of models into the desktop with the same sort of pull and run semantics that people who are accustomed to Docker already know. On Docker Hub right now, I think this is sort of the new thing. You can go to Hub now and you can look at all these models. They are OCI artifacts, so they're just in regular registries, and we can begin to pull them. So let me also jump over to Docker Desktop. And one of the things that you'll see there is a section called models. And if I jump into one of these models, this is exactly what you'd see if I was typing at the command line. But let me say, ask, can you search for things on the web? And this time I'm asking this question of Llama 3.2. I know Llama 3.2 does actually have tool calling, but it can't get things on the web yet because it's just a model. So what's missing? Well, in order to start to move our way from models to being able to actually build agents, we need to start bringing in tools. And as you saw in the keynote this morning, MCP is a way that we can start to pull in tools. So the other thing that you'll see in Docker Desktop is the MCP model toolkit. And we are also here making the connection between an MCP server and a Docker image or a Docker container. So the same way that you've learned how to package and move software around with Docker, we're bringing that to MCP as well. So the first catalog that you see, it's just filled with things that I can do with Docker containers. And any MCP that you can put in a Docker container, you can start to look at building agentic applications with that. So we're at MS Build. So I'm going to switch now over to VS Code and talk about an out-of-the-box agent like GitHub Copilot. So if we look at GitHub Copilot on its own, it's got a lot of great tools that come with it. So if you click the little tool icon at the bottom of your GitHub Copilot, you'll see these out-of-the-box tools that just come with VS Code. And if you go to the menu and you list the MCP servers, they've given us a way to start adding new MCP servers into VS Code. So let me just, we're trying to make this a little bit simpler. So let me go into the terminal here, and I'm going to say Docker MCP client connect VS Code. And so I'm going to make a connection between VS Code, Copilot, and all of these catalogs of MCP servers that we're now building. And once I've made that connection, if I go back to that dialog before, the MCP doc, I have a connection. It's like a pipe between the GitHub Copilot and all of these MCP servers that I can now potentially start up. So I'm going to start that server, and in the bottom we see here it started up, but it has discovered 0 tools because I haven't actually said yet what are the tools that I want my agent to be able to use here. So now I'm going to go back to Docker Desktop, and I just want to, in my GitHub Copilot session, I want to turn on Brave Search. So Brave Search has 2 tools. It comes with a tool to do local searches. It comes with a tool to do web searches. And it does actually have a configuration. And because Brave Web Search comes with an API key. So we need to be able to enter that API key and safely inject that into the containers. We're sort of moving a lot of these secrets out of environment variables and getting them safely running inside of the containers. So I'm going to enable that. And just for fun, I'm going to look also at one other server. I'm going to turn on YouTube transcripts. That doesn't have an API key, so I don't have to put a password in for that one. So I've got two servers enabled there. If I go back to VS Code here, I'll see, okay, VS Code sees that I enabled some MCP servers. It now has seen that the list of tools has changed. If I look at this icon and go to the bottom, I can see, yeah, there's an MCP server here. And I'm actually going to take away the local search because I just wanted to use Brave Search or the YouTube Get Transcript tool. So it's just a single connection, but we're looking at saying, what are the MCP servers that you want any of the agents connected to that server to be allowed to use? So let's say OK here, and find some, or search the web is a good, search the web for some articles on MCP and Docker, and get, oh, actually not search the web, for some YouTube videos on Docker and MCP, and get the transcripts and summarize. So this is something that GitHub Copilot is now going to respond to this differently than it would have before, because now it has a tool. It has a Brave Web Search tool. So I can continue, let it find some articles. You all know how these agents work. Sometimes it may go through a couple of different searches. Once it finds a YouTube video, it will then use this second tool to grab a transcript. Here's the transcript tool coming up now. In each case, I'm sort of giving the agent consent to use these tools and to run extra things. Okay, so we've looked at models, pulling models. This was all about pulling tools, because everything that happened underneath here, the Brave Search tool and the YouTube transcript tool, like what languages were they written in? What runtimes did they use? Well, in those particular 2 cases, that was Node and that was Python. But we put them in containers and we pulled them. So the only thing that you need alongside VS Code is Docker. Because we'll pull the NPM runtime down that you need. We'll pull the Python runtime down that you'll need. And so you have an easy way of distributing these MCPs to anyone who happens to be using GitHub Copilot. So I'm going to let that go, and I'm going to switch gears a little bit, because so far, we've talked about pulling models, we've talked about pulling tools. Let me open up something called Compose YAML file. This is Compose YAML. This is another format that Docker has, that you as developers may traditionally have been using in order to compose different services together. But what is an agent other than composing tools and models together? So let's extend that analogy. I'm going to bring up a new terminal here, and I'm just going to say Docker compose up, Because what I want to bring up is I want to bring up everything that I need in order to build an agent. And so in my terminal down here, I meant for this to not work. And I'm going to tell you why. Some tools that I want in this agent are not present. And so the key here is that list issues is not present. And that's because I haven't actually gone into the MCP toolkit. And list issues is a tool from GitHub to list all the issues that we have on GitHub. So I want to make sure, I want to tell all my agents, this is a safe server. Like GitHub put this out. It's OK for the agents to use it. From a configuration perspective, I need to put my personal access token in. We're working with the GitHub team on this. Soon there'll be like a nice OAuth flow for you to just authorize this right here. But I want to use this. So I'm going to say yes. Good. Let's use that. And then there's a couple other tools I actually need too. The flow that I'm going to show you, it looks up issues, summarizes them, and then makes an article in Notion. So I want Notion to be available. I need to fetch a few things from the web, so I'm going to enable fetch. I need SQLite, it turns out, to store some data. And finally, this is the last one, I need DuckDuckGo. So I'm going to add DuckDuckGo as well. So I have gone through, and I've basically said, these are the MCP servers that I trust. I don't have to change the connection. I'm making a single connection, but all these tools that are available in that server. So let's go back to our terminal, and I'm going to run Docker Compose up again. This time, I have all the servers that I need. So it's bringing up a connection to my MCP server. It's bringing up the models that I need to run this. And it is going to be creating a nice UI for me. It is this one right here. And I'm just going to ask it a question. I'm going to say, summarize the issues in Slender Slacks, which is me, agent demo, and let me just like start that up, and then I'm going to go back to the compose YAML file and just show you a little bit about what's actually happening there. So the agent in the terminal down here is just like busy working away. But if you look at what we're really doing here, we're saying that in order to build this agent, I need some services. So I need an MCP gateway to talk to things like list issues or DuckDuckGo or SQLite. I'm also going to need an LLM. And so my LLM here, I want to do summaries of my issues with DeepSeek. So I need to bring that model up as well. And finally, I need an agent. Let me make this a little smaller. I need an agent. This is just a regular Docker container. This is just you can write this in whatever application you want. This could be LangChain. This could be ADK. This could be Crew.ai. There's a lot of different agent frameworks out there. But notice in line 28 and 29, they're all going to need a gateway to get these tools, and they're going to need LLMs. So what we're doing here is we're composing together everything that we need in order to spin up this agent. So Docker Compose up brings up our code, and then we build on top of that. Let's see how our agent is doing here. Whoa! It's very busy. So let me jump to the UI. It's not this one. Right here. So the summary, it found some open issues. There are some key themes there, and if we look at the document, this is the Notion document that it built. So the loop, the agent loop that we built here was pretty simple. It just went to GitHub, grabbed some issues down, used DeepSeek to summarize them, then used another model to plan out how to build this Notion document and Markdown file. But But as an agent developer, the key is being able to spin up that MCP, spin up those models, and build a development environment for yourself. So again, like the key here is just pull and run. Pull models, pull tools, run them, compose up agents. So thank you very much.